Ultimate Fighting Championship (UFC) welterweight fighter Kamaru Usman believes that Nate Diaz does not have sufficient abilities to compete again for the UFC title. Usman said this in response to former UFC fighter Diaz Nate's statement calling for a rematch with Jake Paul or UFC welterweight champion Leon Edewards after he defeated Jorge Masvidal in a boxing match in Anaheim, California. Diaz is in no way included in the fight for a legitimate UFC title at this stage of his career, said Kamaru is quoted on the official MMA fighting website in Jakarta, Tuesday. Usman said that Diaz had indeed made a big name for himself. Diaz is drawing praise for still having the fame to be able to fight and earn a good paycheck because he gets all the good fights outside of UFC MMA. But come on, to say Nate Diaz will come back and fight a world-class mixed martial arts fighter currently in the UFC, come on. That's absurd. That's crazy, he said. Diaz himself was defeated by Paul via majority decision in August 2023 in Diaz's boxing debut after 15 years with the UFC in Texas. Apart from that, Diaz and his history with Edwards was also in the spotlight after the two clashed at UFC 263 in June 2021. Even though Edwards was landed by Diaz in the fifth round, Edwards' final attack made the future champion look shaky. Usman said he wasn't sure that the oft-repeated highlight, Diaz's match with Edwards, was important enough when assessing the fight's potential. He said Diaz landed a sneaky blow after Edwards beat him for 4.5 rounds in the match. But it wasn't enough to bring him back in the rematch. In the end, Diaz landed it. It was a great blow, but it didn't guarantee him. Because of that, he had one moment in the fight, but he was given a title shot just because of that. Seriously, he said. Usman praised Diaz for his endurance and strength but disagreed with the idea that Diaz should go through any of the UFC's line of contenders. If Diaz is still looking for big names to fight, Usman suggested the idea of Diaz following up Paul's previous big money offer to fight him in the Professional Fighting League (PFL), or Conor McGregor's trilogy fight that has been in the works for years since their impressive two-fight series in 2016. Nate Diaz, PFL and Jake Paul will offer you $15 million to get into MMA and fight him in MMA. I'll take that, Nate Diaz, concluded Usman.